Right, so, as always seems to be the case when Keir Starmer wants to drop a big policy move, he hurries to the nearest right-wing hack rag, puts on his very best Tory impersonation, which isn't very difficult for him, given he would be a far better fit in their rancid party than he ever should have been in Labour, and pronounces more horrifying policy that he thinks will sound good and hopefully make him popular, at least amongst those still daft enough to buy said rags for their news, when the reality is what he is proposing now is going to ruin lives. So it goes that today he has announced to the country that those on benefits are basically a blight to society, that the bulging benefits bill needs to come down, and that there will be a crackdown on it. If he thinks this is vote-winning stuff, stealing what was the worst, most damaging mantras, most harmful narratives from 14 years of Tory abuse and misrule, then he has got another think coming, because he got voted in to fix the mess that they created, as he promised, not carry on ruining people's lives with more of it. But when he takes his cues from right-wing sources, right-wing media, and right-wing mantras, he's only ever going to repeat the harm done to so many ordinary working-class families. And I do mean working, because if he thinks he can get away with that George Osborne narrative of shirkers versus workers mantra again, then he's got another think coming, and may his poll numbers continue to plummet as a result. Right, so Keir Starmer is back to benefits bashing, because that's always a popular narrative amongst the British media and the right-wing public, isn't it? Turn on those with the very least. Turn on those who the right-wing hate rags imply are getting something for nothing when you're working hard and you're not getting everything that you want. Turn the blame on these people. We, the government, are, after all, whilst the rich people who are really the problem in society keep getting ever richer. That's all because Starmer and co value their donations to their party more than they value your ability to get by in day-to-day life. Once again, the claim is that to get the bill down, currently sat at apparently £137 billion, it is quoted as in today's Starmer pick of the papers that he's gone to, the right-wing hack rag of choice today, the dire Mail on Sunday. Starmer and co are going after the benefit cheats again. Yes, still them, which equates to some estimated £1.6 billion of that benefits bill, which is quite a lot of money, admittedly, but it's just 1.2% of the entire bill. And that's apparently Starmer's priority now, is it? He keeps changing his priorities week on week, isn't it? 1 minute it's growth, now it's attacking benefits claimants who are getting something for nothing. Get stuffed, Tory boy. You're looking in the wrong place right now, and you know it. You know it's the rich. Get off the backs of the less well off. Now, that total amount for the welfare bill is already a lot lower than quoted in many other places, and certainly a lot lower than quoted over the last several years, as they appear to have cottoned on to the fact that by removing the state pension from these figures, which typically makes up about 55% of the welfare bill in this country, I dare say playing to the demographic who generally reads their nonsense paper in the mail, though of course there are lots of pensioners who wouldn't line a litter tray with it. Better make that point before I get shaded at again for attacking pensioners. But why is it acceptable for the fail to omit those figures this time, when working age benefits are ripe for attack? You're basically saying some people are entitled to a benefit more than others. And as much as many will argue the state pension isn't a benefit because people pay into it all their lives, it functionally is, as far as the figures go, as far as it is given out to people. And that is inarguable, unless you're the fail and you just seemingly leave them out. And this is possible because there is no single definition for what the welfare budget even actually means. It is open to all manner of interpretation as various newspapers see fit, whatever fits their own chosen narratives and biases. And that in itself is an issue that needs to be resolved. It really ought to be something that's legally defined, in my view, to stop abuses and stop dishonest narratives, as we're looking at again here, from happening. We have to look at this term working age benefits as well, though, because it isn't necessarily people out of work who are claiming them. That word work does a lot of work, because a lot of benefits are top-ups to low wages. Child tax credits, working tax credits, housing benefit, the equivalent elements to those within universal credit. It is a simple matter of fact that these top up low wages, that they are used as an excuse, frankly, to keep wages low, as they are used to subsidise employers. So instead of targeting the benefit, targeting the person being paid too little, target those paying too little to pay their employees more. Instead, Starmer, the idiot he is, decided to tax employers more, didn't he, in the budget? Sting them for more national insurance, which is now costing jobs, and it is the low-paid ones that will be the first to go. So how's that going to get the benefits bill down when more people will be needing to claim more money to get by? Silly, isn't it? More and more the sort of demographics being affected by low incomes and their lives damaged by that are going to be young families as well. More and more people are choosing to not have children in this country because they can't afford to. Death rates are now outstripping birth rates in the UK. When you look at stats where 72% of all the children who are living in and growing up in poverty happen to be in working households, this is no longer an issue of cutting the welfare bill. It clearly isn't giving these people the buffer, the safety net they need for the basics as it stands. But of course, when you encounter any interview with a government minister, it isn't these families that are to be targeted. Oh, no. It's that burgeoning sickness bill. And my goodness, don't they have the media on side when it comes to attacking those people. It's gone up in recent years, thanks in no insignificant part due to the pandemic, which has left so many people in this country with ongoing health conditions. If people are disabled, then they're disabled. Look at the hoops over the last 14 years with reforms to assessments that disabled people have had to jump through in order to gain what pittance of additional money they need for the additional needs they happen to have through no fault of their own. Starmer's Labour under the vile Liz Kendall are also doing this again to make it even harder, apparently, to do all the more what the Tories have done for the last 14 years, to throw people off support even more, for which they have an entitlement, the cost of which isn't going to be measured in financial savings, as we know all too well by now. It's measured in lives. But the right-wing media love to attack these people, don't they? It's why Starmer went to the fail, because they love it. It's why people as downright depraved and disgusting as Isabel Oakeshott can go on TV and get away with calling people on benefits parasites, despite an awful lot of these parasites being working. And it's hardly the first time she's said deeply offensive things against people far, far worse off than she is, opining from her ivory tower, forgetting, of course, that many of these people will indeed be in work. Even more a demonstration of the sheer ignorance of just cutting benefits and making people worse off, though, when they are already struggling, is the consequences of that will do anything but get the bill down. After 14 years of the Tories, is it any surprise that a third of all disability claims now relate to mental health? They do. Of course, the fail brings that up as well, as if it's these people are not deserving of your help either. But when you make life harder for people, it takes a toll, not just physically, but mentally as well. And this is not something that can just be dismissed at the end of the day. It's a problem, it's happening, and it's going to get worse if you don't start doing something to fix it. And this isn't that. Disabled people also still work, though. Let's come back to them again. They do work. However, they face discrimination at work over that, and that includes in regards to pay too. All as Liz Kendall today was on Laura Koonsberg's show this morning, bleating about breaking down barriers into work for disabled people. Well, that's wonderful if they can work. 54% of disabled people in the UK actually do work, but not all of them can. Equally, however, average pay rates for said disabled people in work are 14% lower than able-bodied colleagues. So why is that right? How is making cuts to their benefits, therefore, then, going to be helping that problem? All of this is another exercise in forcing those on the lowest, most meagre incomes, those with health issues as well, to feel less secure about themselves, question their self-worth, end up with people feeling like a burden. Instead of helping with that, on top of all of this, there is, of course, that assisted dying bill going through now. And whatever side of the coin you come down in that regards on, do you really want a government so concerned with making people feel as worthless as possible in order to save chump change for good media headlines with overseeing the legalisation potentially of assisted death? There is no support system. The health system is in disarray and being privatised. There is no functional social care system. And all of this stuff should come before contemplating assisted death. Combine this with being made to feel like a burden, and this rushed through legislation could easily end up guilt-tripping people into opting for assisted suicide. For families that have financial hardships, as is being inflicted on too many and set to continue, care home fees for elderly or infirm relatives are a potential nightmare. And people have been terrified again by Liz Kendall when she said on the matter that it was important to give choice or control over that to families. Surely not. Why should anyone's family get a say in whether you live or die? And there is going to be financial pressure to go down the assisted death route to avoid care home costs people can't afford. That's virtually a certainty. And again, this will be something disproportionately affecting poorer families who actually will be left with very little choice in the matter. What Starmer, Kendall and the rest of this evil government are doing is deeply discriminatory and deeply ableist. It frames those with the least as scroungers, once again stoking stigma, and it damages lives. It is a political choice to try and get down a £137 billion social security bill when fraud is already negligible in it, whilst finding every excuse not to go after those with the most, the 350 billionaires in the UK having a combined wealth of nearly 800 billion and are only getting wealthier. Yet nothing is done about that. Nothing is done to tax that wealth. Or you could always make the royal family pay tax instead of giving them every ever-increasing pots of public money by the millions that they don't need. Tax evasion counts for £122 billion. That's 100 times more than benefit fraud. What about that then? And one more salient point, it is worth sharing, because for as much as there is that £1.2 billion in benefit fraud that does exist, roughly £17 billion in benefits goes completely unclaimed by people who are actually entitled to it, through whatever reason there might be for that. Fear of stigma, pride, whatever it is. So the savings are already being made, therefore. Choices. Starmer has chosen the Tory way of attacking those on benefits, and it's time that we as a society rejected this as an acceptable policy move. It simply is not acceptable. Constantly attacking those with the least, when those with the broadest shoulders never pay, is something we should be demanding changes on. And if Starmer's Labour aren't going to do that, it is no party of the working class when it is the working class under attack again and again and again. And he's only been in power a matter of months. How can his Labour be a party of the working class when it is doing things like this? Fundamentally, though, this issue is part of a much bigger picture of life getting even more difficult, in no small part due to the not quite the economist she claimed to be, Rachel Reeves, as her qualification for running the nation's budget has come in for serious questioning, almost as much as Starmer's apparent qualifications in human rights law does. Her world's come crashing down around her a little bit, with rumours even abounding she may yet quit. Get the details of that story in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.